Happy Sunday, happy Easter, happy Passover, anything you celebrate. At the very least, I hope you're having an awesome day. It is 70 odd degrees and absolutely beautiful here in North Carolina. We're taking the tri bike out. I'm still recovering from my 50 miler last weekend, so we're just gonna do 60 super easy minutes and have fun. But today's video is about getting comfortable on aero bars. So whether you have a tri bike or a road bike with clip-on aero bars, this video is all gonna be about 5 or 6 things to keep you safe, comfortable, and fast as you make that transition, get comfortable on your bike, and enjoy it. So with that said, quick 60-minute spin, bring you along, and then dive in. All right, hey everybody, got that ride done. It ended up being less than an hour, just a super easy spin to get outside, get some movement into the legs. Haven't done anything since last weekend. So this video is all about how to get comfortable riding on your aero bars, be that either a dedicated triathlon bike or a road bike with clip-on aero bars. For the purpose of this video, it's exactly the same. A lot of people, especially with clip-on aero bars, I was super guilty of this. You'll just throw the clip-on aero bars on and just attach them kind of wherever they fall. Go for a ride and then not really like it. So that's going to be a great lead-in into tip number 1. You've probably heard it before, but I'm going to doubly emphasize it again because it's the most important thing. You got to get a good fitting. Fitting is going to drastically and tangibly affect the handling of the bike, seriously how comfortable you are, how the bike performs, your speed, a lot more stuff. The difference between, a ½ inch on these aero bars forward or back might mean the difference between a bike that's extremely uncomfortable to ride or something that feels like you're steering in oil tankers. That said, I respect that not everybody can go out and necessarily drop $150 or $300 on a triathlon bike fitting, so some very general guidelines converting from a road bike to a triathlon bike. Your saddle is going to come farther forward. It's also going to go up to compensate a little bit. Once you've got that saddle fore and aft set up where you like it, you're pretty much just going to lean forward and find the place where your elbows sort of naturally make a roughly 90-degree position. Once you've got that 90-degree position, that's where your elbow pads go. And then these extensions, once you've got your elbow position figured out, you're just putting the extensions out to where your hand roughly lands so you can shift. Ultimately, the big thing to remember is oftentimes the most fast position is the most comfortable position that you can actually maintain over the duration of the race. All right, tip number 2, now that you've got your fit set up, how do you actually start riding on aero bars? Spend some time, 10-15 minutes, just going around, riding around on these base bars and getting used to that feeling. Once you're comfortable on your base bars, then it's time to actually start getting into your aero bars. So I would recommend finding a road that is actually either flat or slightly uphill, only a little bit, and obviously free from traffic. The cool thing about these aero bars is they're actually more stable once you get going. So it's kind of like riding a bike for the very first time. You might be uncomfortable at first, but once you put a little speed into it, you'll actually be a little bit safer. Once you're actually ready to start getting onto your aero bars, I would recommend taking your hand off of this base bar, your dominant hand, putting it on your aero bar and just biking in this position. So you've got your left hand on your base bar, your right hand on your aero bar. Once you've got that, comfortable for 5-10 seconds, put it back, do it with the other hand, and just alternate, 5 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, until you're comfortable getting one hand in and out of the aero bars. Once you're feeling pretty good about that, then it's time to put both hands on the aero bars at the same time. I would generally recommend starting with your dominant hand, getting comfortable in that position, then bringing your non-dominant hand over and putting that hand on as well. When it's time to leave the aero bars, same process in reverse. One little thing for those of us who are right-handed and live in North America, the left hand is your front brake, which is your primary brake. So I would recommend getting good at getting out of the aero bars with your left hand too. In the event that you have to make an emergency stop and maybe you only have time to get one hand out of the aero bars and onto the brakes to maybe avoid a pedestrian or a car, you're going to want that to be your left hand. But that's important because your front brake has so much more braking power compared to your rear. All right, tip number 3, this is not your crit racing bike. This is your triathlon bike, and it's important to treat it like one. Regardless of what type of bike you're on, whether it's a road bike or a triathlon bike, you're not going to have access to your brakes while on the aero bar. So it is important to plan things in advance, give yourself more room between other cyclists, other road users, other pedestrians. Of course, you're not going to want to take any sort of bike with aero bars into a group ride In the event that you have a couple road biking friends who you really want to ride with and you're on your triathlon bike and you want to get used to riding an aero, the one possible exception that I would make is if you choose to always be the lead cyclist, that's probably okay, and then people can sort of draft off you. All right, number 4, know when to get out of the aero bars. So just as important as getting into the aero bars is knowing when to get out of them. There's 2 real times I would recommend getting out of aero. One, anytime you're going below about 20 kilometers an hour, which is 10 to 12 miles an hour, you don't really have the aero benefits of being on the aero bars, and the slower speed of the bike makes it a lot more unstable. Sit up, and that sitting up position is going to allow you to generate a little more power anyway. So if you're climbing up a hill at 10 miles an hour, there's no need to be an aero. Sit up, get those additional power gains from that better position. You're not losing any aero, and you're more stable. Number 2 time to always be out of aero is anytime you're going through an aid station in a triathlon. Even if you are super comfortable and you know that you can grab a water bottle while in aero, the people around you might not be. Being on your brakes, being up, being a little more stable, being definitely out of aero allows you to be more safe, and it allows you to maneuver around people who maybe are not as good of bike handlers as you are. All right, number 5 is particularly important for those of you who do not have electronic shifting, which is the majority of people, and that is, especially on a triathlon bike, it's important to shift ahead of time when going into a climb. Generally speaking, the mistake that a lot of people will make is they'll go up to a climb, they'll start slowing down, they'll get out of aero, and then when they're out of aero, they're on their base bar extensions, then they can't shift. So then they have to reach over and shift from the aero extensions or from the paddle shifters. Anytime you come up to a hill, it's like the entire field forgets how to shift. I've seen it 100 times. It's really awkward and it kind of sucks. The faster and better option is if you're coming up to a hill that's going to be a real climb, something you're going to get out of aero, you're going to sit up in, I would actually recommend just shifting into the little ring pretty much as you leave aero. So the thing is, when you do that, you're going to feel like you're under geared for a second, like you're going to be spinning your pedals. But I would bet that within 5 or 10 seconds, your bike is going to slow down enough that now that shift from your big ring to your little ring up front, that alone is almost going to put you in a very good gear. If that doesn't put you into a low enough gear, you're probably then going to be shifting your rear cassette into an easier gear. When it's time to crest the top of the hill, a lot of people make the opposite mistake. They're in a huge hurry to get back into their big ring and they overgear themselves and they're grinding this huge tall gear that they can't really push. I would recommend just using your rear derailleur and shifting down through the cassette so you're getting onto smaller cogs, harder gears in the back. If you cross chain here for a few seconds, that's fine, honestly, for like 10 or 15 seconds. It's not a big deal. Once you actually crest that hill and you're on a flat or a downhill, then it's time to shift your big ring and adjust your rear cassette to match. You're going to get up to speed faster, you're not going to be putting much work into your legs, and you're going to be beating all of the people who shifted that big ring in such a hurry. So that's it, 5 little tips to make riding your triathlon bike or your road bike with aero bars a little bit easier. It takes practice, just like anything else, but you will get more comfortable with it. You will be completely as fine, just like you are on your road bike, and it's actually really fun. If you have any questions or anything like that, you know what to do. Leave it down below. I'll see you guys on the next one.